Hey guys, how's it going? This is your review for your chapter 2 test tomorrow. So this one I'm doing a little bit differently. Instead of doing PowerPoint slides, I just have this Word document with a bunch of review problems on it. So I will post this review document to Google Classroom, and then also I'm going to go through and do the answers here too, and I'll try to post that so that you can, do the problem and check to see if you got the right answer. So first thing we're doing here is we need to write the rational number as a decimal. So whenever we do that, we know that we're going to be having to use division. So for this one, this first one, -3/11. I know that I have 3 on the inside, and I have 11 on the outside. Let me use this. Oops. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. All right. So when I do that, let's see. 11 does not go into 3. So I'm going to have to add my decimal point and a bunch of zeros after that. Now 11 goes into 32 times. 0 point because you got to bring that decimal point straight up. So that's a 2. 22, subtract it's an 8, and then bring down another 0. 11 goes into 87 times. That's 77. Subtract, you get 3. You get 30 again, which is 2. And for a decimal, I'm only going to make you go, let's say for these ones, 3 decimal places. So your final answer would be 0.272. Now for this one over here, we have 13 out of 20. So I already know that -3, I know that my answer is going to be -3 point something, but I got to figure out what that 13 out of 20 is. So 13 on the inside, 20 on the outside. I'm going to have to add a decimal point, add a bunch of zeros. 20 goes into 130. Let's see, that'd be 5. That'd be 6 times, because that's 120. Subtract, you get 10, add another 0. 20 goes into 100 5 times. And that is exactly 100, so we can stop there. So then our answer would be -3.65. And I'll highlight both. Oops, right? Both of these so that you can actually see them. All right. So now down here it says that we need to write the decimal as a fraction or mixed number in simplest form. So I know that my fraction is going to be 3 and something something, because that's what that whole number tells me there. So then I have 3.42. That 0.42, that's going to be 42 out of 100. Start taking things out of it. I'm going to take out a 2, 21 out of 50. Only things that go into 50 are 5, 2, and 10, and those don't go into 21. So my final answer is going to be 3 and 21 over 50. Now over here, -0.35. So I know that my answer needs to be negative something. It's going to be negative and then a fraction. So I have 35 out of 100. Start taking things out of it. I'm going to take out a 5, so that's 7 out of 20. And then I cannot take out anything more than that. So my answer is just going to be -7 over 20. And again, I'll highlight those both. They are easier to see for you. All right, now let me try to move this down a little bit here. All right, so it says complete the statement using less than, greater than, or equal to. So here I'm really testing to see how well do you know what your negative numbers mean. So I have -2 and 7/8 and -2 and 3/4. So I already know that 3/4, that's 0.75, because when you're talking about like money, 3/4 would be 75 cents. We have -2.75, but I don't know off the top of my head what 7 out of 8 is. So I'm going to do that division real fast. Add a 0 here, add a decimal point. 8 goes into 78 times, that's 64. And I actually can stop there because I already know that this is going to be -2.8, because that's what that 0.8 tells me, and this is -2.75. Oops, I keep pressing that button. Sorry about that. So this one, this number, it's less, but it's less negative, so it's greater. I'm going to put my greater sign there. Now here I look at it, I have -6.4 and -6.5. So if I have -6.4, that's less negative, so that's actually my greater number there. All right, let me try to change this window real quick so that this can look a little bit bigger for you. All right, let's see here. So this next one says that your skateboard ramp is 2 3/8 feet high. Your friend's skateboard ramp is 2 2/5 feet high. Which skateboard ramp is higher? So I have two numbers I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with this 2 3/8 and this 2 2/5. I need to compare those to each other. 2 3/8, 2 2/5. So I know that 2/5, I know that each fifth is 0.2. just because if you have 0.2 times 5, you get to 100. So I know that this number as a decimal is 2.4. Now, I don't know what 3/8 is, so again, I'm going to actually have to do that division. Add a 0, 8, 16, 24. That's 3 times is 24. Subtract, get your 6. You need to add some zeros down here. 8 goes into 60, 7 times. Decimal point there. So I know that this is going to be something around 2.37. So if the question's asking which skateboard ramp is higher, that would be this 2 2/5 one, because that is your bigger number. All right. Now what this next one's asking us to do is add or subtract and write our fractions in simplest form. So I know right off the bat with number 8, I see 2 negatives, so I'm just going to make that a positive, and then all I need to do is add. When you're adding with decimals, make sure that you line those decimals up. 3 plus 6 is 9, 7 plus 5 is 12, carry the 1, that's 8, that's 9.29. Here, I am going to, first of all, I want to make sure that I see this negative out in front. I'm going to change this to an improper fraction by doing my C method. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so this is 7/3. So I have negative 5/3 plus 7/3, which is going to give me an answer of 2/3. Let's move down a little bit now. We have 4 2/5 minus a negative 6 1/2. So again, I see 2 negatives, so that's a plus. I'm going to change these both into improper fractions. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22. 5. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13 over 2. Again, that's a plus. Common denominators, I would have to multiply this one by 2, this one by 5. I'm going to write it over here. 2 times 22, so that's 44 over 10. Plus 13 times 5, let's see, that's 65 over 10. So 60 plus 40 is 100, so I have 109 over 10. Take my numbers out, I'm going to have 10 and 9 tenths left over. All right, so here I see a plus and the minus right next to each other, so that's a big minus. Negative 9.24 minus 2.89, so my answer is going to be more negative, so I'm actually just going to add the absolute values of these. 9 plus 4 is 13, carry the 1, 10, 11, carry the 1, 11, that's 12. The answer is going to be negative, you cannot forget that negative, the answer is going to be negative 12.13. All right, find the distance between the two numbers. So I'm looking for this distance here, and down here I'm looking for that distance there. So I'm going to add the absolute values for both of these. So 2.5 plus 1.8 is 13, here the 1. So this is 4.3. And then here, it looks like I have negative 7 and negative 3/2. I'm just going to go ahead and change this to an improper. So that's 2. Let's see, so it's 2. Oh, actually, what you need to make sure of is here you never cross 0, so you're actually going to subtract the 2. So 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, so this is negative 7 over 2. And that's just negative 7. So I have negative 7 over 1 minus negative 7. Actually, you know what? Hold on one second. Oh, no, that's right. Negative 7 over 2. Get common denominators, multiply this one by 2. Run out of room here. Negative 14 over 2. Minus a 7 over 2. So I am negative 7 over 2 would be my final answer there. All right, I'm just going to do a select number of these because there's kind of a lot left. All right, so this says a gallon of, or gallon jug of milk is 3/4 full. After the breakfast, it is 1/12 full. Find the difference in the amounts before and after breakfast. So if I want to find the difference in the amount, the difference means that I need to subtract. So I'm going to take 3/4. I know that I need to get common denominator, so I'm just going to do that right off the bat. So now I have 9/12 minus 1/12. That's 8/12. Take out a 4 from each. You're going to be at 2/3. That is your final answer for that one. All right, the second one says you buy a bag of dog food for $12.59 and dog shampoo for $4.75. How much more did the dog food cost than the shampoo? So dog food is $12.59. So if you want to know how much more it costs, you would need to subtract. So I'm going to take $12.59 subtract 475, that would give me my answer. So the big thing here is just remember to line up your decimals. 1, 15 minus 7 is 1, 11, 0. So you would say $7.84 more. All right, so now we're in the multiplying and dividing here. I will do all of these ones. So negative 2/5 times negative 1 1/4. Again, when you are multiplying and dividing, you need to turn these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So negative 2/5 times 4 times 1 is 4 plus 1 is 5, so negative 5/4. I know my answer is going to be positive because I'm doing a negative times a negative. Multiply across, but before I do that, I can cross simplify. It's negative 1, that's a 1. A negative 1, that is a 2. So my answer is going to be 1/2. Now here, I just need to actually do that. So when you are multiplying and dividing by a decimal, you need to make sure that you just move everything as far to the right as possible. This is actually a negative, so I know my answer is going to be negative something. So 6 times 5, that is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 1 is 6. That's 9. 3 spots behind the decimal, so I move this over 3. So my answer is going to be negative 0.09. Here, when you are dividing, we have negative 4.2 divided by 12. 12 cannot go into negative 4, so that's a 0. And a decimal point, 12 goes into 42. Let's see, 12 3 times would be 36. Subtract, you get 6. Bring down some zeros here. That's 5. So your answer would be negative 0.35 for that one. Moving right along, I'm going to do this one right here. I'm going to change these. So I'm going to have 2/3 times 4 times 2 is 8. Negative 9/4 times 3 times 1 is 2 plus 1 is 3. Now I am going to figure out what I can cross simplify. So that's a 1, that's a negative 1, that's a 1, that is a 2. Now let's see, that's about it. So I have 2 negatives, so my answer is going to be positive. Negative 9 times negative 1, that's just 9. And then on the bottom, I have 2 times 2, which is 4, so my answer can be 9/4. And this is going to be the last one I do here. 9.408 divided by negative 2.45. So when you are dividing, you have a decimal on the outside. You need to remember that you need to move that decimal as far over as you can. So it's as close to the house as possible. Then you got to move this one that same amount. Then I have 245. 245 goes into 940. Let's see here. 245, 940 goes in 3 times, and that would be 735. So you subtract those two, 940 minus 735. You're going to get 205. Bring down your 8. And then you need to see how many times 245 goes into 2058. It goes in 8 times, just about. Let's see, 245 times 8 is going to be 1960. And then for this one, I wouldn't make you go any further than that, just because that would be very nice of me. So you could just put 3.8 as your answer for that one. All right. I'll talk very quickly about this one. Just asking for the perimeter. Remember that perimeter, you need to add up all the sides. So you would take this 10 1/6 inches and this 5 1/3. So you would have 10 1/6 plus 10 1/6 because that's the bottom and the top, plus 5 1/3 plus 5 1/3. But then if I ask you for area, you would multiply. All right, that is it for your review. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, or you guys have a bunch of resources at home. Good luck tomorrow.